Hello, hi, Malini Kamalam Khanya, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Running Podcast. Today, I got to sit down with Adidas Terex trail runner Bianca as she takes me through her off-road journey. Hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm adjusting to the cold of Cape Town again, but otherwise good.
Yes, I know that you recently just came back from Europe.
Yeah, I got back on Tuesday, so I've been back for 2 days now, or 3 days, I don't know. Time is morphing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there for a month, and I'm going back again on the 10th, so in 2 weeks, and then I'm there for another 2 months. Yeah.
And you're going back to race, because I know you were there to race.
Yes.
And you did really well. I know you came 10th, 12th.
12th. I did the Mont Blanc Marathon, which is a race in Chamonix in France. Very prestigious race. It's part of this series called the Golden Trail Series in Europe. So I did that on Sunday, 44 Ks, and I came 12th. Yeah, so
that's amazing.
I'm really happy. Yeah, it was my first marathon in Europe. And so I didn't have many expectations, and I think I exceeded whatever I thought that I could do. So
12.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's incredible. Yeah. And you're going back to do another race in Europe, or is that just more like I'm going on holiday and chill out for a bit?
No, I wish. No, so I'm going back. I've got 3 more races in Europe. So I race predominantly in Europe now. Because I've got a contract with Adidas Terex, and it's a European-based contract. So a lot of my racing in the year is now in Europe. So
brilliant.
Yeah, so I've got three more kind of marathon distance races there, and then I'll be back in South Africa from September, and hopefully be able to do 1 or 2 South African races.
Oh my! Well, I look forward to you coming back and running here at home. But that's so cool.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to introduce yourself. You know, let the listeners know who you are, what you're all about.
So my name is Bianca Tarboton. I'm 26 years old. I am a professional trail runner for Adidas Terex, like I mentioned, and then I'm also a master's student. I'm currently doing a master's. It's part of a German-funded project called the Green Quest, where you're looking at a green energy to assess like the feasibility of some green energy. Yeah,
I might have heard somewhere that you are a master's.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, what?
So I did an undergrad in chemical engineering. And then, I took off 2 years, and then this year started a master's in the same field. So I'm doing like process modeling for this green energy process. Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It is. It's kind of difficult to juggle them both. I think I thought the master's would be a bit less work, but it's actually turned out to be quite a lot. So it's like about finding that balance, I think, because obviously running is where I'm getting my money, so I need to, and I love running. Obviously, I love them both, but I need to like prioritize. So it's difficult. Yeah, and then I think if you want to race well and perform well, you need to be prioritizing things like recovery and stuff. So it actually it ends up taking like half of your day, if not more, to train and then recover and eat and all of the things. So
how do you balance it all?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I'm not even a pro athlete. I'm not even studying. I just work and I run sometimes and I podcast, and I'm just like, even that is just like, oh,
that's a lot to take on.
A whole master's student and a pro athlete, like, there's a lot. How do you do it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think I've always been quite good at time management, and I think that's how I was able to get through my undergrad, because it was very intense.
I'm bad at that.
Yeah. I don't even know what the tips are. I think it was just like a natural inclination. I don't know.
Wow.
So I'm lucky. I'm good with that, and so I think that is it. Just being able to time manage, but it's difficult, and a lot of the time I'm very tired.
And do you go out, like social life? Is that also in there somewhere?
I try as well, yeah. I've got a boyfriend of 7 years, so I've been able to manage that, which is good. And then I suppose I just try and fit it in where I can. Like, all of my friends and family are very understanding. So they fit in with my schedule a lot of the time, and I'm very lucky for that. But it's difficult, yeah. And so I try to be like very focused in the racing season, and then my coach and I have a setup. So like my off season, I'm able to like really take off, and then like then I prioritize things like going out, and
that's what I mean. A good balance. We need to go out a little bit, you know?
Kind of. Although going out's exhausting. It
is exhausting. I always say to my friends, okay, cool. I look 28, but actually the 75-year-old in me is tired and I'm ready to go home.
I agree, yeah.
You know, my alarm goes off. My phone starts to shut down at 8:30. And by 9 o'clock, I need to be in bed.
Oh, that's so great that you say that. I'm glad that there's someone else like me. No, I'm exactly the same. I actually hate going to bed late, so it works out well that I do professional running because I don't mind. I don't mind being asleep by 9 o'clock,
I love going to bed early.
Yeah.
And apparently it also helps with the recovery process.
Sleeping is the biggest part of recovery. So that's the first step in the right direction to your professional running career.
I'll take that. I'll 110% take that. So how long have you been running? Have you been running your whole life? Or like, how did that start out?
Yeah, so it's a good question and it's a little bit complicated. When I was younger in like primary school, I was quite competitive in cross country.
Okay.
And track, I did like the 800 and the 1.5. Those are my distances.
What schools do cross country? Because I feel like the only schools that I know are the bougie schools that do cross country. Because the school that I went to definitely did not do that.
It's a good question. I'm actually not from the Western Cape. I'm from the Eastern Cape.
That's what to say.
Yeah, in East London.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what schools didn't do cross country, but definitely the schools I went to did. Okay. But that was primary school. So I did that, and then I was like very competitive in primary school, and I basically did like all the sports possible, and I think I exhausted myself. So I got to high school and I kind of gave everything up, including running.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so then high school, I did basically no sports, social stuff. I was actually like into parties and stuff, crazily.
So you've got it all out your system.
Exactly, it was really
so
useful,
now you can focus on something else. That makes so much sense. I mean, I did the same, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, so then I always ran though on and off because I've always had this like attraction towards running, and it's been something that I've always just felt very comfortable with. So whenever I did do sport, it would be just going for a run by myself or that type of thing. And then I moved to Cape Town 7 years ago to do my undergrad at UCT. And then I suppose I was introduced to the mountains through my boyfriend because I started dating him in my first year.
Nice.
And a lot of his friends did trail running. I didn't even know trail running was a sport. I remember and when I got to Cape Town, I went hiking up Lion's Head and I saw someone running up and I was so confused, like what the hell are these people doing?
Why would you run up a mountain?
Yeah, I had no idea, and it just seemed like such a crazy thing for me back then. And then his friends did trail running, so they introduced me to it, and then it kind of just progressed very slowly from there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So wouldn't cross country kind of count as like trail running?
Kind of,
because you're kind of off-roading. It's not exactly road running.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I suppose there's not all the climbing like there is in trail running. So yeah, it's probably a bit of like a transitionary type of running. And this year I did some cross country races again.
Oh, nice.
Just in like the off season to get back into the racing vibe. For the first time since primary school, and that was really cool to like go back to that.
Must have been a nostalgic moment.
Yeah, it was. Also just so different, like such a different crowd. I really enjoyed it actually. So I'm definitely going to try and go back to cross country in like the between racing seasons. So.
Going back to the roots.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really cool.
I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. So basically a similar thing where, I mean, I wouldn't say I did trail running. Like I wasn't like an avid runner really, but like when I first moved to Cape Town, again, I would also always see people running and people running up Lion's Head. And I'm just like, I don't know why you would run up a mountain. I don't know why someone would choose to run up a mountain.
Yeah.
That was like my first thoughts. But I think once I kind of started it out, like maybe I was like, oh, let me just check it out a little bit. I think the first time I did it, I was like, okay, cool. This is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I get why people are running up and down mountains, but like it took me a while to get in, but I do somewhat enjoy it. I think it's also a nice break from like road running.
Yeah, it's more stimulating, I think, and
I also
inspiring.
think so. Yeah, but then I stopped hiking because there was just too many things moving in the bush, and I was just like, well, then trail running is also out. But I do enjoy it. I think. Well, a couple of weeks ago, a friend and I decided, okay, cool, let's just try something different. Let's trail run. And we did the pipe track route.
Okay.
And that was actually quite nice.
It
was also quite muddy, but it was nice. It was fun. It was adventurous.
Yeah.
It's definitely something way different than like road running.
Yeah. I suppose it's also like it feels a bit, I suppose it's difficult, but it feels easier because you don't have to run the fast paces like you do in road running. It feels more.
I thought I was the only one because I was just like, I looked at my time and I was just like, and I'm okay with this time.
Yeah, I think that's like a big misconception that people have when they like try and transition from road running to trail running is they need to keep like the same paces that they do on the road, on the trails. And it's just so unrealistic. Like you've just got to put your watch away kind of when you start trail running as a road runner.
Do people keep track of time when they do
running? You do, but it's very different to road running, like I said, like depending on the trail and how much climbing there is and that sort of thing. So often you feel like really slow because relative to how fast you can run on the road, it's like
But I guess it's like some sort of good training of you go from trail running, go to road running, which will help you, I guess, with
the speed,
and being stamina, I guess, be able to
and like the running economy, So in my off season, this past year, I also did like a road block, so a road and cross country block, leading up to the trail season now, and it was hugely beneficial. I think, just getting used to running fast paced and I suppose just like a bit of a confidence boost. And also, trail running is such a uncalculated sport because each trail race is so different in like distance and elevation and technicality. Then it's nice to go to road running, which is super calculated. Like you know exactly what pace you need to be running all the time. That's a nice like switch, I think.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you know the hills that are coming.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is actually so true.
Yeah.
And I often don't think about that just because I already do road running.
Yeah.
And I stick to that. And then maybe once I would surprise myself and do a trail run.
Yeah. I suppose it works the same way, just opposite.
Yeah. It is so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I'm enjoying running at the moment, I've seen a lot of people. So I'm from the Garden Route, right?
Yeah.
Born and raised in George.
Nice. George is amazing. Yeah.
So I've heard. Even though I'm from there, I always think the opposite. Just because I'm from there. And usually when you're from a small town, all you want to do is just get away from it, right?
Yeah.
And people always tell you, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, it's this. And you're just like, sure. But I did a lot of road running, but also I'm from George, and I never knew, being from George, that there was this whole thing called MUT.
Yes.
And I recently found out about it. And I just know because, road running, I've seen a lot of road runners in George and all that kind of stuff. But MUT, I didn't know that was a thing until everyone started posting about it. And I was just like, oh, so everyone's just running up Otaniqua Mountain and then around it. I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's a thing.
It's an amazing mountain range, yeah. I think it's a fairly new event, though. I don't know how long it's been going on for, but I don't think it's been too long.
I've lived in George my entire life. I've never once heard of it or seen it.
I think it was a lot bigger this year because it's become one of those UTMB qualifiers, which is a massive event in Europe. So I think this year there was a lot more hype than previous years, and that's maybe why you heard about it this year versus previous.
Maybe because now I've immersed myself more into the running community.
That as well.
I'm starting to find out more about these races and all these things. And a lot of the people that I know also do the mix between trail running and road running.
Yes,
So I guess I'm finding out more about these things, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I suppose like running is such a niche, and especially trail running. So if you're not in the trail running scene, you wouldn't really know about these things.
That's true.
Yeah. It's like a very, very small niche.
That's so true. And I know you did MUT.
Yes, I did MUT. I did the marathon.
How long is that?
42 k's.
Oh, so it is, okay. I thought maybe there's like a different
No.
distance to trail and road. I don't know.
So it's 42 k's, but then it's different to road because I think it had 2,400 meters of climbing. So it was a lot. Yeah, it's not like a road race, and it takes probably double the length, if not more, than a road race would take. So it was tough.
And you chose to do this.
I chose to do it. Yeah. So like I said, most of my running or racing is in Europe. And so I wanted to try and get in a marathon in South Africa before heading off to Europe and attempting my first marathon in Europe. And so MUT was like the perfect race to do leading up to the European season. And I've never done it. And I've heard so many good things about it as well. I've actually never run in George until MUT. I did the vertical kilometer there last year, but then before that, this was the first
running things happening in George?
Yeah, there's a massive running community in George, actually, which is really cool. It's so beautiful, and I'd say like George probably mimics European trails more than any trails in Cape Town. So it's a perfect place to go if you want to go.
Flabbergasted. I'm not even gonna lie.
It's amazing. I was blown away, actually. So like I said, it was my first experience running there at MUT, and it's insane. It's so beautiful. Probably some of the best trails that I've run in. So,
I mean, look, even though I'm from there and I like to hate on it, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, and the race conditions were really muddy, so it was tough, but it was also like very good weather, very like cold, which was helpful actually when
That's
you're running
George.
for so
Cold
far.
and wet.
Yeah, but very muddy. Jeepers, I've never run in so much mud in my life. But very cool, very good event. I highly recommend MUT to anyone who wanted to race a trail race.
That is so interesting. So I had a friend who did it. I don't think she did the full one, but I didn't know she was a runner.
Yeah.
And she said it was the first time that she also did the race and she loved it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, how did you know about this? You didn't even run as often as I did. I didn't even know about it. And I'm also from George. And I'm just
Not
like,
talking
what?
to the right people, obviously.
Clearly not. Apparently I'm not. And I thought I was in with the crew.
Yeah.
No.
Next year could be your year then.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it and I'll let you know.
Yeah, you should. I'll definitely be back next year too, hopefully, if I'm in South Africa.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I do know that, I mean, I can't say I often go home, but when I do, I have a group of friends that I often run with, and we would sometimes run around the George Dam. And it kind of goes into like a trail around the dam. And I've done that a couple of times. But that was during lockdown as well, where people would just leave their house and just everyone from George would just meet up at the dam apparently. And then we would all just run together, which was so nice. But I also didn't know the running community was quite big.
So
just because I'm so used to Cape Town and I've been here for almost 10 years. So this is what I'm exposed to more than, back home.
Yeah, makes sense.
And when I'm back home, I'd never leave my mother's house.
That makes sense too.
But that's so cool. Maybe I'll think about it, maybe next year.
I highly recommend it. It's beautiful. The marathon is a good race as well. Really beautiful. And you kind of like plateau the summit of, what's it called? George
Peak.
Pass? George Pass.
Oh,
so you run up
the Atiniqua Pass.
I think so. I don't know. I'm so confused now. But you like get to the summit almost like as the sun's rising because you start before sunrise. So it's dark and everyone's got their head torches and you can't see anything. So you like do this long first climb and it's all in the dark and really ominous and it's beautiful though as well. And then you get to the top and the sun's like about to rise and it's special. It's a really, really great race.
Jeez. I'll think about it and I'll let you know.
Yeah, you must.
I'll
come do it with you.
But again, this is how I also get into like some of these races because people will talk me into it or I'll hear about it and then suddenly I'll have like some sort of itch of like, I'm just going to look it up, see what it's all about. And the more I look it up and the more I read into it, the more I'm like, maybe. I don't know. So I'll think about it.
Just say yes, just do it.
This is how I got myself into trouble with the two oceans. I was injured when I signed up and I was just like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but here we go. Ended up doing it just because I just said yes and I signed up. So
your mind is strong.
Oh, girl, I'm too scared to say yes now. Just because I've also just said yes to the marathon and there's expectation around it. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
The
okay.
marathon is soon though. Marathon's in October. Hey?
Yeah, October.
You've still got a year for George, so you've got time, and that'll be a good build.
Oh my gosh. You telling me I have a year?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I guess I could start getting into that mind frame of.
Once you do a road marathon, a trail marathon isn't so hard.
You're right.
Yeah, jokes. I've actually never done a road marathon, so I wouldn't know. But I would
well,
assume.
October. I'm just saying.
Jeepers, yeah, I'll probably be broken by October after all my racing. But maybe.
You never know. It could be your shakedown run.
Yeah, maybe actually. End of my season.
That's a good way to end the season. Just saying.
Yeah,
since you put something into my head, I might as well plant the seed in yours.
I'll pitch it to my coach.
Let's see what he says about it. I mean, if it's not the full marathon, there's other smaller races as well.
Yeah, so I actually probably will be doing the vertical kilometer Cape Town Marathon.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know vertical kilometers at all.
No,
but it's,
please tell me. Educate me on these things.
It's basically 5K distance, and it has to be 5K or less, like a classic vertical kilometer, but then you climb 1,000 meters of elevation in 5Ks. Yeah, so it's just straight up.
Oh my gosh. And you choosing to do this.
I actually really enjoy them because they're really short. They're probably like maximum an hour. So I enjoy that. You just kind of redline from the get-go, and it's basically just like power hiking and for the whole 50.
I suffer during, so every Wednesday at the Adidas Runners, we have hill sprints or hill repeats. I suffer every Wednesday, and I don't understand why you would choose to do
but
a 5K of just going up all the way.
It's all relative, I suppose, and the intensity wouldn't be as intense as what it would be in a hill sprint. But I enjoy climbing, so I think I'm one of the lucky ones who does enjoy climbing.
Come do 2 Oceans next year. You'll enjoy Southern Cross.
I would like to, actually. When I watched my sister do 2 Oceans this year, and I thought that's definitely a half marathon that I would like to do one day. So
I think you would thrive at Southern Cross. I didn't.
So.
I was the complete opposite. But since you like climbing, I think Southern Cross would be a breeze for you.
I think so, yeah. I watched people actually coming up Southern Cross and thought, I'd like that.
No way. I thought the opposite. I was just like, this is hell.
Yeah, I suppose, in that point of the race, it probably does feel like hell. But as a bystander, it looked pretty good.
Look, I think you would thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, well, hopefully one day.
There's quite a bit of climbing. Look, there's quite a bit of climbing and there's a lot of flats, but I think you'd flourish. Just saying, I think you should give it a go. It's a nice little race.
Yeah, no, I definitely will do it at some point. Also, I feel like in Cape Town you have to do 2 Oceans, so
the classic race. Like it's just like it's one of those races that you have to do.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I know that I'll be back next year, even though I suffered. But I'm ready to tackle Southern Cross.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to make it even because at the moment it's Khanya 0, Southern Cross 1. So I'd like to go back and just tackle that again.
Yeah, experience goes a long way, so I'm sure.
Maybe I'll do a virtual run. Who knows? To get me ready. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. So obviously you race quite a bit and all that kind of stuff. So like, how do you get race ready? How do you prep? What are your when you were looking at fueling, obviously as part of prep, like how do you fuel? How do you recover? And like, do you have any race rituals to it?
How do I get race ready? So I suppose just like I try to focus on the process more than the actual race, and so I don't get too, or at least I try not to get too fixated on the race itself, and rather just I trust my coach a lot. So the training that he gives me, I know that I'll be ready come race day, as long as I suppose everything has gone right in terms of injury and that stuff. So I take confidence in that, and then I try to prioritize recovery a lot as well. Like I said, juggling a master's and running is quite difficult, so I sometimes have to compromise on that. But I try just, I suppose, the basics of recovery, sleeping and eating. I focus on those a lot. So I try to sleep like 10 hours a night if possible. And then just
10 hours of your dream.
yeah.
I
mean, if possible, it's not always possible. But yeah, I try. I suppose I'm lucky. I don't have to wake up really early. So I don't set alarms. And then I just try sleep in as much as I can. Yeah.
Imagine going to bed knowing that your alarm is not going to go off.
Yeah.
That's so great.
It's a good feeling. And like I said, I'm lucky that I don't have to wake up early. So yeah, I just try sleep a lot and then eat a lot as well. I suppose when you're training a lot, your body needs fuel. So I try eat a lot.
Just to reiterate that a lot.
And I suppose those are like the main two things. And then with regards to pre-race rituals, I can't say I have that many. I suppose I always try and eat like risotto before a race. I don't know why.
Wow.
Risotto is my pre-race meal. And I used to be like quite obsessive with that. And then actually George Mutt is the first race where I didn't eat risotto before the race. And it felt weird because, it was kind of part of my race ritual. But it worked well. I still had a good race.
I don't think George has risotto. I'm a bad advocate for George. I know nothing, apparently.
I think it's quite a flourishing little town now, actually.
It's actually a city now.
A city, yeah. I was impressed by George this year. But yeah, I can't say I have that many pre-race rituals. Maybe like my pre-race meal.
Like a little dance.
No, I always do like a little mobility, like 10 minutes in the morning. But I do that every day. So every morning I wake up and do like 10 minutes of mobility just to get my body.
I need to get good at that.
Yeah, it's important. And I think it's something that people overlook. And it's also just really good with injury prevention. And I suppose if you're sitting all day as well, it's such a good thing to do just to get your body moving. Yeah.
I messaged my friend this morning, and so he's a chiropractor, and he's been helping me a lot with like my back, but also doing some physio stuff with my knees because I've been struggling quite a bit with runner's knee. And he's been telling me, Khanya, you need to do a bit of cross training. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. And everything in me at the moment, I just don't want to see the inside of a gym. All I want to do is just run. You know, I don't want to do any strengthening, nothing. And this morning I messaged him and I was like, okay, cool. Is it okay if I do like one day, in the week of like strength training? He's like, yeah, that's okay. And I was like, well, what is the required amount? And he said, well, twice a week would be great. And I was like, okay, no. How's about we do one day of strengthening and then the second day could be conditioning? Because then I could do that from home.
Yeah.
And I'd have to see the inside of the gym.
Gyms are not that great. I don't enjoy gyms either.
Dude, I don't enjoy it. I don't know. But for mobility purposes, I know that it is quite important. And strengthening your muscles and, trying to prevent injuries. And I've run into a lot of injuries because I haven't
exactly. I suppose that's what you need to remind yourself of. Like, if you just do the strength training, it really does make a difference. And I'm like quite religious about strength training. And also,
I can't get into a habit of it.
It's really difficult, I think. Yeah, it doesn't give you that endorphin kick that running gives you. Yeah. But it's so worth it. I think it like just prevents you from being out for like 3
How
months
often do you do strength training? Maybe I might just bank off of yours if you tell me once a week.
I actually do it twice a week. But I'm also again really lucky in that I have a strength coach. So he has like a small gym and then it's just like me and him and another friend. So I think it's easier. I think if I didn't have a coach, I would be a lot less good at doing it. He makes it very fun.
So there is a routine to this.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's easier. But like I suppose, what you could do is just get into routine. So you say like every Monday at 7 a.m. I'm going to go to gym and then have like a routine that you follow to make it slightly easier so it becomes just like a habit. And I think, that's the thing as well. Just like doing it enough times that it becomes a habit. For me now, like it's so integral in my life that I don't even think about it. And like the mobility as well. I like have done it for so long now where if I don't do it, I just feel like a bit edgy.
Well, for me, I would love to get into some sort of routine. And I guess it takes a while to build a routine.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, so I shared with you before we started recording, I've been on a running streak. I think by the time this episode airs, I would have hit 101 days of running.
It's amazing.
And to build that was probably the toughest part.
Yeah.
Because the first 10 days, I was like, oh, okay, cool, this is okay. And then between the 10 days and the end of 21 days, I was just like, this is rubbish. I'm so over it.
You lose that
and then I think once I pushed through the 21 days, that's when things started getting a little easier.
Yeah.
Because now I've built a habit for myself. And it feels weird to not run.
Exactly. Yeah.
So even though sometimes I would push it and be like, oh, I'll run at 6 tonight. But even that, like the build up to 6 o'clock later that night, it's just like, oh, I'm getting a bit anxious. I need to go run.
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's amazing that you've got to that point now as well.
Exactly. So now I'm trying to like rebuild another habit and I'm just like, oh, I know what it took me to get to this point. I'm like, do I really want to go through this again?
Yeah.
But I know that I need to get into some sort of routine, some sort of habit to help me get into that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's exactly that. I think you just need to create the habit and like remind yourself how important it is and how it does get easier with time, because it is those initial days and months that are the worst, and then it just becomes part of your life.
The hardest.
Yeah, it really is. Getting out the door is always the hardest, I think.
Putting on your shoes.
It's those pre things. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, but I'm trying to get into it. So I'm going to try to take whatever you're putting. And I'm going to try to pick it up.
Yeah, honestly, it's very worth it. I'm a firm believer of strength and mobility.
This is such a weird side note. I have like actually, it's not even a love-hate. It's an absolute hate of foam rollers.
Oh, yeah. I don't love foam rollers. I don't use them all too much either, actually. Maybe like when I do strength with my coach, we like do a bit of it in the beginning. But outside of that, I actually don't foam roll that much at all.
I don't. So I have this.
It's horrible. It's torture. I don't know if it's worth it for the game. I've had
this fight so many times where, the car would tell me, oh, but you need to foam roll. And I'm like, do I? Surely there's other things I can do to go around it.
Yeah.
And, every time I go and see him, he knows how much I hate it. And he would always like try to recommend it. I'm like, can we try something else?
Try mobility. Just get your body moving.
Yeah.
All of that tightness is coming from somewhere. So if you just
Someone said yoga is also a good one.
Yeah, yoga. I think yoga is good as long as it's like runners specific yoga, because otherwise you can stretch things that you don't necessarily want stretched in running. So obviously running, you want tight muscles. Yoga's often aiming for flexibility. So
It's true.
Yeah, but certain yoga I think is really good, and a lot of like the mobility that I do.
I didn't know there's different types of yoga. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know the exact postures, but I just know, runner specific yoga.
Is it runner's yoga?
I'm
or
pretty
is that
sure
something
they
you just made?
No, I'm pretty sure. Actually, my one friend was telling me that she was doing running specific yoga. So, yeah, there definitely is. I don't know if all yoga studios offer it, but there definitely is.
In Cape Town?
I'm pretty sure. Do some Googling. I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm almost certain.
I will Google it. Never heard of that, but that's cool.
Yeah. I've never been to a class, but I have heard. So I used to do yoga quite a lot. And then when I started coaching with my coach, he was the one to tell me it's actually not that good, as long as if you aren't doing running specific yoga.
Yeah.
And so I took a step back from it, but like I said, I heard good things.
I'm for sure I'm going to Google that.
Let me know if I'm wrong.
And if there is, I'll just invite you to come hang out.
I would love to actually go to a class and see what it's like.
You never know. It could be your new little ritual.
Exactly.
Pre-weekend or anything.
Actually, like before I was coached by my coach, I used to go to yoga as like a pre-race thing, like the day before a race, go to like a yoga class.
No
so it
ways.
used to be part of the pre-race ritual.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a pre-race ritual actually.
Like something that you do all the time before a race.
I always psych myself up. So
it always
like
ritual.
No, well, I always like have like a playlist where I would literally blast music in my ears.
That's cool.
Just so that it can get me psyched up. Because a lot of these races start early in the morning, and some of us take a while to wake up. So you need something that will wake you up. So I don't know if that's like my pre-race ritual, but I like something that's like it will wake me up. Something that will, get me going and excited for what I'm about to do.
Yeah, you need something to get you excited.
Exactly.
It's tough. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think maybe eating rice a day before might be my new thing.
it's really good. Also, like rice is very high in carbohydrates, which is obviously what you want when you're racing because your body is using carbohydrates as a fuel source. So
to be honest with you, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
until
no.
Oceans, because in our race packs they gave us like bags of rice.
Oh,
and I was
really?
just like, why?
Yeah, so it's a lot higher in carbohydrates versus like pasta or another carbohydrate source. So that's why people tend to eat it. And I suppose it just goes down quite easily. But risotto is amazing, my pre-race meal, because then it's got like a flavor as well. It's not just like plain rice. Yeah.
Surely you can make rice flavorful. You could add things to it.
You could.
Not just eat it bland.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, some people do. I know, like professional cyclists just eat rice. So
Bland.
yeah,
That's boring.
I know, but they're kind of boring as well. I'm joking. No, they're not boring.
That's brilliant. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I love that. So, to kind of end this off, what are some 3 tips that you can share with people who wanting to get into trail running and maybe want to do the first trail running race? Do you have any 3 tips that you can share with us?
3 tips.
Specifically for me, if I'm going to do MET.
Yeah. I'd say like a big thing. I think people often try to just like do a lot as soon as they like, so you set your goal and then people I think get super excited and then like try to overdo it and do like a bunch of big mountain days and like just like increase their volume like crazy amounts and then they end up getting injured and then they have to take like a month or 2 off and then it kind of they get to the race not actually ready because they've just like tried to like I say do too much too quickly. And so I'd say like just starting off really slow and just aiming for consistency. There's a saying that is long-term consistency triumphs short-term intensity, and I think that is a very, very true and wise saying. Like if you just build consistently and you start off slow, you'll get there, and it'll build the confidence I think a lot more than if you just try to do too much and then so I'd say that just like aim for consistency and build slowly. I think people try and do, like I said, too much too soon.
Love that.
And then I'd say also for trail running, doing like specific training is really important, both physically, but I think mentally as well. So if you've got a race where you know there's going to be like 2 big climbs, then try and do a long run every now and then, obviously within your means and how much volume you can handle. But try and like get that specificity in, because I think that goes a long way as well, just like getting you psychologically ready. And then I'd say like a big thing is focusing on the process. I think it's cool to set goals, of course, but then like rather enjoying the process and how you get to the race rather than the race itself. So I think that builds resilience, because then either way, whether you achieve your goal in the race or you don't, you'll be happy because you've enjoyed the process leading up to race day. And then it's easier to like go back and look at the drawing cards again because you really enjoy what you're doing. It's not forced. So I think that just enjoying the process and adopting like a process orientated mindset.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, I think those are the main ones I can think of. Yeah,
that's so cool. And like maybe like a quick little tip for like a beginner.
I think I said it to you earlier, but I think like just like get your feet out the door, like get out the door.
True.
That's like the hardest part, especially when you're starting running, and you haven't built that fitness yet. It's just so like true. Getting out the door and like psyching yourself up to get out the door once you start running. And I think that's a good thing to remember. Like if you start running and you feel horrible, you can just stop, or you can cut the run short, but most of the time you start running and you enjoy it. So it's just like that initial like getting out the door is the worst part, and so just reminding yourself of that and doing it. And then you'll probably enjoy it and love it and not want to stop at all.
I mean, when I went out a couple of weeks ago, it kind of reminded me of like when I first did it and I enjoyed it. And the person I used to do it with, they moved. And then I was just like, well, I'm not going to do this by myself. But recently when I did it again, I was just like, actually, I missed this. You kind of do get like a bit of an edge from it. And I mean, I would love to go back and give it another go and see how that, how that goes. But and it's such an empowering thing, I think, to be able to run. So I think it's so worth it. Those initial days of struggling, I love that. It makes you stronger, I think, in many ways. So I'll give it a
persevere.
Go. I'll give it a go, and I'll
it's all worth it, I promise. I've been doing it for 7 years now, and
I love that. Do you have like any like specific like favorite routes in Cape Town?
Favorite routes in Cape Town? There's so many here. It's so difficult. I love running like to Orpelskorp. I don't know if you know of Orpelskorp.
I do.
Yeah, Orpelskorp and Devil's Peak is amazing, and then also Souther Peak. I don't know if you know of Souther Peak. It's by Llandudno.
Okay.
It's like the peak behind Sandy Bay. I love going up there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but there's so many here. Like,
I know.
Just anywhere.
There's way too many. But I guess that's what makes it so nice to run in Cape Town.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a variety of like trail runs and running routes and like all sorts of things that you can do.
And so accessible, I think, as well. Like it's like a 10-minute drive probably to wherever you need to go, or you can just run from your back door.
Well, it's depending where you are.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, generally, it's like we're pretty lucky in that like the city is built around the mountain. Yeah.
Which is brilliant. That's why I live in the city.
Table Mountain's a good place.
It is a good place. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it a lot.
I enjoyed it. I learned quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope so.
And you might have sparked an interest in trail running.
I hope so. It's an amazing sport, and I highly recommend getting into it.
I'm taking it on. Thank you so much for joining.
Good luck for your marathon in October.
And all the best to you going back to Europe.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's go. I'm excited.
Represent South Africa. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thanks so much.
Cool.
Why are you running?
This episode is brought to you by SoundSpeed, the sound specialists.
Running.